Hello, my name is Bruce Wayne and welcome back to one of my adventures. So the last time we were discussing that we were at Rock Hall with all five of us at Rock Hall after my father had left us essentially and sent us to Rock Hall with only $5 to go live with our grandfather who had checked out essentially. And so while we were at Rock Hall, as I explained before in my last episode, there was no food, essentially, so we had to kind of fend for ourselves. And so while there were bananas on the property and yams that you can dig out of the ground, and chickens you could find on the property that were running wild, they weren't cooked. There was no takeout back in those days, and we didn't have any money anyway. So I had to learn how to cook. But before I can learn how to cook a chicken, just like the movie Rocky, I gotta learn how to catch a chicken. And so that was very challenging to learn how to catch a chicken because they'd run all over the place. But I'll spare you the detail. You may have seen it in a movie or two that you really have to just run all over the place until you finally corner them and catch them. Once you catch them, then the next step is that you're gonna have to kill them and then you're gonna have to cook them. None of which I've done before because I was 8 years old, and up until that point, I was living in the lap of luxury and my mom was doing all the cooking. So you would think my other siblings would be, preparing the meals for me, etc. But it was kind of strange. There were times that they would do some things, but a lot of times that really, you had to fend for yourself, so you had to figure it out. So I think one of my brothers showed me how to kill a chicken before. Another brother showed me how to make a wood fire. But let's start with the chicken first. So the chicken catch the chicken, you had to get a bucket, and you had to get a bucket and put it over the chicken, and then you cut off his head, and while the chicken is moving around, which sounds pretty freaked out to somebody who may love animals that's watching, at the same time, you can't just let the chicken just fluff around on the ground. You have to also make sure you have a pot of boiling water. Simple enough, right? You simply go in the kitchen, you turn on your stove, the flame comes on, the water boils, and voila, you're there. No, you're not. You have to make the fire. So you gotta go out and get some branches, some bigger logs, and put them into 3 squares, and you have to get some paper, so you have to find paper wherever you could, rip them up and throw them in there, and throw these little smaller twigs in there. And here's the thing about it. Many times, you didn't have the abundance of lots of matches, and there was no gasoline or kerosene. So you had to learn how to make a fire with just maybe 1 stick of match. And then many times, you only had a stick of match, and if you had more than a stick of match, you had to heat them sparingly, because if you're out of a match, you're out of food. So I learned how to light a fire with just 1 stick of match, and you have to sit there and blow on it. Once you get those things, you have to keep feeding the fire until you get a flame going. Now, once you get a flame going, you put the pot on there and you start to boil your water. Now, so one day, when I killed one of the chickens and I'm sitting there, I'm cooking it, and this is in my early cooking days, my 8-year-old cooking days, I was there and I took the pot cover off the pot. But the problem is that some of the steam had some water that was still settled on the top of the pot cover. It was a pretty considerable amount of it. And it went down and it landed on my thigh, and I had the biggest blister on there. And just run to the doctor, Bruce. No, there's no running to the doctor. You gotta figure it out as well. And so for quite some time I had this blister on my leg until it went away.